His father bought the Yankees in the 1970s for $8.8 million. The Yankees are now the most valuable team in Major League Baseball at $8 billion.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Stacey Gotsulias. He's Brian McKeon, and welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. In case you don't know, I've been hosting the show since 2018, and before that, I wrote for a whole bunch of baseball blogs. Brian, tell everyone about yourself.
I worked for WFAN, hosting overnights there for a bit, and then I found my way over here where we've been linked up for a Yankee pennant and a Yankee divisional series exit, which apparently is okay because the other team was better.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a bit. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. On today's show, a Japanese player actually said that he wants to beat the Dodgers, which is refreshing. Instead of joining them, he wants to beat them. So we're going to talk about that. Is Corey Seager a possibility for the Yankees since Texas is unloading some players? We'll talk about that. But first, as Brian alluded to a few seconds ago, Hal Steinbrenner spoke to the media in a Zoom meeting on Monday, and he had plenty to say about plenty of things.
Yeah, I do. Before we get into it, let's keep in mind one basic fact, please, because I think it's important to remember when it comes to the relevance of everything that he's talking about. His father bought the Yankees in the 1970s for $8.8 million. I know the story is famously $10 million, but the Yankees actually didn't buy the parking structure that was next to the stadium that was originally agreed to be sold for $1.2 million. So in reality, George Steinbrenner bought the New York Yankees for $8.8 million. That's about $14 million less than what Trent Grisham is making this season. The Yankees are now the most valuable team in Major League Baseball at $8 billion. Let's just keep those stats in mind, please. Purchased for $8.8 million. Lots of eights here. Stacey probably loves this.
Yes.
Purchased for $8.8 million. Now worth $8 billion. Please proceed.
Yes. And let's add that was 52 years ago. $8 million. And that was a lot of money 52 years ago. Not that 8 billion isn't a lot, because 8 billion is a lot of money. People don't realize, we've talked about this on the show, how much a billion is more than a million.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's a lot. Yeah. All right. So I don't know why Hal even, why did he even say anything? Did he need to do this? I don't think he really needed to do. He hadn't spoken really to the media since they announced the facial hair policy change back in March or February. So I don't understand why he even did this.
I do think he does it because he feels like it gives him a leg up over other owners, because most owners don't speak. So I think that he thinks because he speaks, and whether he does a good job at it or not is irrelevant, the fact that he is speaking to the fan base, I think, makes it look like he cares a little more.
Yeah, well, the fan base isn't that happy with some of the stuff that he said to the reporters.
No, I think, to be honest with you, before we even get into this, I think he should be briefed before giving these interviews, because every time he does something like this, he always winds up saying something that pisses people off. And meanwhile, he could just give a very generic kind of answer that everyone wants to hear.
Like a canned Derek Jeter post-game boring answer.
Learn.
Right.
And he doesn't learn.
And Aaron Judge, too, because he's gone to the same school as Derek Jeter in that regard. Okay, so Gary Phillips, beat writer, asked, I've seen it suggested that your revenues were over $700 million, so I'm assuming you make a profit. Is that fair as well? And then Hal said, no, it's not fair. And the follow-up question was, so you took a loss? And everyone's like, how could the Yankees lose money? And then Hal's had a very big explanation, although kind of not. So here it goes.
Point, yeah.
He says, I don't want to get into it, but that's not a fair statement or an accurate statement. Everybody wants to talk about revenues. They need to talk about our expenses, including a $100 million expense to the city of New York that we have to pay every February 1st, including the COVID year. So it all starts to add up in a hurry. Nobody spends more money, I don't believe, on player development, scouting, performance science. So these all start to add up. If you want to look at the revenues, you got to somehow try to figure out the expense side as well. You might be surprised.
All I want to say to that response in my own fruition, the Yankees apparently last year brought in, this isn't like profit, this is just what they brought in financially, $758 million through their stadium. That's what they made last year through their stadium. That's not including losses. So I don't know what their losses were. They could have lost $754 million, but they made $758 million. Just out of comparison, because they're in the same town. The New York Mets last year made $412 million. It's $350 million roughly more money the Yankees made, being what, 14 miles apart?
Yeah.
In the same city. I know the Yankees are the brand. This is coming off of a year, though, when I'm assuming those profit margins were fairly close the year prior. And the year prior, the Mets went out and stole one of the best players of all time in free agency for more money than you were willing to spend. I don't want to hear about how other teams can operate like this. If you're making this kind of money and other teams make less money and are willing to spend that money, I don't want to hear it. You're the New York Yankees. Everybody knows you print money. You have your own television. You have your own television network that you purchased back that prints money. I don't want to hear about any of this. And honestly, no franchise wants to hear about any of this. It is not a fair argument from an owner.
But here's the thing, if they weren't profitable, the family would sell the team already, because why bother having an entity that's not profitable? Why would you go through this year after year?
This is a multi-billion-dollar family, and we've said it all the time on the show, and we'll continue to reiterate it. These people in America get this rich for a reason, and it's not because they're reckless with money, and it's certainly not because they like losing money. And if this was a losing venture for the family, they would not do this. And it's made very well aware publicly that he is not his father, including him. He makes it known that he is not his father. His father had a very huge drive for winning. He loved to win. He loved the sport. He loved sports. He loved winning. He doesn't have that same drive. And that's fine. I'm not complaining about that. I'm not making a point about baseball. That's totally fine. I don't think you need a George Steinbrenner type owner to win a championship in sports. It's been proven year after year. But if the drive is not there, and they're losing money, and it's not a passion project like it is for Steve Cohen, then why do you own the team? You could easily sell the team for, if it's worth $8 billion, what's a realistic estimate of the minimum they'd sell it for? 10, 11, 12, something in that range? Why not just sell the team and go off into your Miami Nights? They'll find a bidder. They'll find a buyer.
So let's talk about what you mentioned. Let's talk about what he said about the Blue Jays. We'll work our way back to what he said about the Dodgers, because we have to repeat what he said about the Dodgers, because he said something at the beginning of the season, and then 2025 happened, and he kind of had to eat his words, but he didn't really eat his words. So this is what he said about the Blue Jays. He was asked, the Blue Jays run. They hit behind the runner. They strike out less often. They play solid defense. They made it to Game 7 of the World Series. For so many years, the Blue Jays wanted to be like the Yankees. Do the Yankees want to be like the Blue Jays now? Hal said, well, look, I think balance in life is everything. They slug the ball too. It's not just putting balls in play. They definitely slug the ball, hitting strikes hard, particularly in the air. Not that you're trying to hit it over the fence, but in the air, statistically speaking, the results speak for themselves. You have a better chance of success when you do that. We tried to become more balanced, picking up guys like Jazz, guys that could put the ball into play. So I do think you need that. You can't simply be a slugging home run team. They had a great year. I'm curious to see next year how well they do with that roster, assuming it stays mostly intact, but they're a great team. They definitely played better than us. They slugged better than us. They hit the ball and put the ball in play better than us, and they pitched better than us, and that's why they won.
Yeah, they did everything better than you at the game. So I don't understand how that point is really necessarily relevant, because they beat you in all facets of the game. So
right.
It's not about home runs or putting the ball in play or any of those little nuanced things that he wants to bring up. Also, I don't love the point of getting a guy like Jazz Chisholm Jr. who puts the ball in play. He hits 250.
Right.
Like, he hits 250 and had a 30-30. Like he's not a put the ball in. And certainly Jazz wasn't trying to be a put the ball and play guy this year. So I don't know where that point really came from.
Yeah, that was kind of odd.
Yeah, doesn't really make a lot of sense at all. It's almost like he doesn't watch his own team. Yeah. But the Blue Jays beat you at every facet of the game. And I don't, I'm not a Blue Jays fan. Don't get me wrong. I don't appreciate the comment from Hal of, we'll see if they can replicate it next year. They probably will. Well, they just won the American League pennant. Like putting them down is a little bit of a ridiculous point.
Because we're going to go to what he said about the Dodgers, because he put his foot in his mouth last season, or no, at the beginning of the season before everything happened with the Dodgers. So Chris Kirchner of The Athletic, I asked Hal Steinbrenner about his quote at the beginning of the year about how it's difficult for most owners to spend like the Dodgers, and he wondered if it would pay off for them. Now that it has, does he change his thinking of how the Yankees approach the offseason? Because he was talking about not being sure that the Dodgers could repeat and what they could, just certain things that he said. So this is what he said. If there's a correlation between spending the most money and winning a championship, I still think it's a weak correlation sample size of data, but they earned every bit of it. They struggled with injuries throughout the season, which I did talk about in that same quote, but they got healthy at the right time. The rotation got healthy, and when that rotation is healthy, they're tough to beat. They quite frankly played up to their potential. They really played up to their potential, especially those last 2 games. That has to happen. Your players have to play up to their potential when you're playing a team as good as the Blue Jays, and you're playing under that kind of pressure in the World Series. Hats off to them. It's not easy to do twice, and they did it in dramatic fashion this time. But again, we'll see what they do next year, and we'll see how it pans out. There was nothing low about my payroll and the Mets payroll, and look at where we ended up.
He's right on that point. He is. Yeah. And I actually do appreciate him calling out his players.
Yeah.
Because he's right. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees do have a roster capable of winning the World Series. Let's not confuse that. We're not saying that at all. Like they don't need to spend more money to win. And I hope that he doesn't think that the fan base complains that way. They should be able to win under their current salary structure. Yes. But he's right. The players need to perform when the moment is the biggest. And the Dodgers players did that. And quite frankly, over the last decade plus, the Yankees players have not done that. They haven't performed in the postseason. So it's just a straight up fact that he's stating. I do appreciate that. But yeah, he got called out last year after the Dodgers spent a boatload of money on their bullpen. And then the bullpen didn't work out, and they still went and won the World Series. So yeah, does having the top payroll in the sport translate to winning the World Series? No, but having a top 5 payroll usually does. Usually a top 5 payroll team wins the World Series.
It helps.
Kind of how it works. Yeah.
It definitely helps. There have been exceptions, but it does.
For most years, the top payroll teams are the ones that are remaining.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Yeah. And he was asked about if the payroll is going to go down, because it was $319 in 2025. And he said, would it be ideal if it went down? Of course, but that doesn't mean, or does that mean that's going to happen? Of course not. We want to field a team we know can win a championship, or we believe could win a championship.
And I didn't love Hal's press conference, but let's close it out with saying this. That quote got spun in the media pretty evilly today.
Mm-hmm.
If you went on social media, they made it seem like Hal said, I want to drop it to $150 million, ideally. He basically said, we're going to be at 319 and probably over. Like, he did pretty much admit they're going to spend. Now, I don't think he wants to go to 450.
Right.
I don't think he will.
Right.
But let's calm down with the way it was reported, because if you scour, I mean, social media is an evil cesspool of a place anyway.
Right.
But Stacey, if you scrolled through social media today and looked at that after these comments came up, you would think that Hal Steinbrenner said he's looking to shed $200 million in payroll.
Right. Like he's going to be the Rays or the Pirates or someone like that.
It got spun to an evil level. And if you read that quote, it's not remotely close to what he actually said.
Right. All right. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also listen to us on every podcasting platform available, and you can follow us on Instagram at Locked On Yankees. Coming up, is Corey Seager a possibility for the Yankees? We're talking about it next.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Now, we have finally reached Thanksgiving. You can see us getting festive in the bottom corner of our screen with our turkey, a little decorative festiveness for you. And I love the mid-slate game, Chiefs versus Cowboys. Wait for that number to get down to 3, ideally, but it is one of the best games of the season, a must-win for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Kansas City Chiefs in this spot, what likely will be the most watched NFL regular season game in history. Looking forward to that on Thursday. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is available to make that late game push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Now, every Friday, we answer your guys' questions, and now we're opening up for comments as well. If you're not already part of the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club, this is what you have to do. You go to the Locked On Yankees YouTube channel, you click on that post tab right there, and you'll see the latest post telling you to leave your comments, questions, anything you want to say. You can ask us anything you want. I'll give you advice in the reads on what gambling advice you like on NFL Sunday, because I love football like all of you do. It's the best part of Locked On Yankees Fan Mail Friday, every single Friday. This week, it'll be get the questions in by Thanksgiving night, 8 p.m., because we're doing a live Fan Mail Friday live stream on Friday, Black Friday, for all of you guys to be able to watch live while you're home, trying to stay awake from your post-Thanksgiving nap full of turkey and stuffing and everything else. I'm hoping there is a Christmas, Hanukkah holiday present coming to us in mid-December, late December, maybe around the New Year, hopefully. And I'm hoping that present could be a guy named Corey Seager from the Texas Rangers. Now, the report came out earlier in the offseason that the Texas Rangers are apparently looking to shed salary going into next season. They're looking to move things around and kind of get rid of some money on the books. And a couple of years ago, they had a big offseason where they went out and they paid Corey Seager a ton of money, and they paid out Marcus Semien a ton of money. They just traded him to the Mets, brought in Brandon Nimmo, and now Corey Seager sits there looming, and everyone wonders whether or not they'll move on from a player like that. Now, Corey Seager, here's the deal. He's under contract until 2031. That's through that season. So 2032 is the year that he's actually a free agent, for $32.5 million towards the luxury tax. Just for your guys' reference, before we get into anything else, I always use the luxury tax reference number, even though Hal Steinbrenner talks about how much money the Yankees aren't worth or whatever. Teams don't generally really care how much they pay a guy per year in actual cash value. What matters is what they count towards the luxury tax. And the luxury tax number is the average annual value of the contract. So if you sign a 3-year deal for $300 million, you can technically pay the player $210 million in the first year, and then pay him $40 million in the second year, $50 million in the third year to cut that salary. That's what you're actually paying him. When it comes to the luxury tax, that player will count $100 million in the luxury tax every year he's under contract. That's how it works. So it doesn't really matter. If you go online and look at Corey Seager's contract structure, you'll see that it's very different of what he makes per year. As far as we're concerned, as far as the Yankees payroll situation is concerned, he makes $32.5 million per year, just like Giancarlo Stanton makes $22 million a year, but whatever. I think a lot of people see that number for the age of Corey Seager and think that's a little steep. Now, let me ask you this, though. If you're paying the end of that contract and it's a steep number and you don't like it very much, but that also includes Aaron Judge getting a World Series championship. It also includes Garrett Cole getting a World Series championship. Is that number worth it?
Yes.
Is that contract worth it?
Yes.
I would say yes.
Because no one cares about the end of a contract, really.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. So pay it out and who cares? And just a little message to Hal Steinbrenner. The amount
of money.
You
shouldn't care about the end of a contract. There are some people who do.
Well, yeah, true.
And you really shouldn't.
And a message to the ownership. If money is that much of a concern, think about how much money will be brought in if they win a World Series. A lot of money will be brought in if they win a World Series. Now, I would say that they still have said they believe in Anthony Volpe. And they're not going to come out publicly and say they don't believe in Anthony Volpe. What good does that do for anybody? But I think it's pretty obvious they have to at least explore the option of making an upgrade at that position. They like McMahon. They traded for McMahon last year. He's one of their higher salaried players in the Yankees this net going into next year. And McMahon doesn't hit for average. Now, McMahon does have a little bit of pop in that bat. He is a lefty, but he fields at a platinum glove level fielding player. So that is a player that I think is worth keeping in third base. The problem is, if you pair him and Volpe together, you can't have the left side of your infield hitting 210.
No.
You just can't. It's not sustainable. So I think Corey Seager is a major upgrade there at shortstop. Not quite the fielder that McMahon is, but he's also not as bad as Volpe was last year. It'd be kind of hard to be that bad. So I think from that purpose, it is worth exploring. Plus, Brian Cashman doesn't like completely depleting the farm system because it doesn't leave him options in July to upgrade the team at the trade deadline.
Right.
Corey Seager would cost them next to nothing to acquire, especially if you're reading the contract. If you go into this offseason and say we're going to eat the entire contract from the Texas Rangers, and you just give them a mid-level prospect, that's probably all it would take because you're saving them all that money. So I think there's that aspect of it too, where you're not giving up a lot, but you're getting a high-quality player. And the last thing that I think is the biggest point of why this is a no-brainer move for the New York Yankees is we question when players are brought in if they're able to play in the big spots, if they're able to handle the Bronx, handle the moment, have big postseason at-bats. That's always the question that we have for every single player they acquire. Stacey, he was great in Los Angeles for all those years, won a World Series in Los Angeles, then won a World Series in Texas, and was outstanding in that postseason. Corey Seager has zero issue playing in big markets and playing in big moments and having clutch hits. I think it's a no-brainer decision for the Yankees. I think the money is a little bit of a concern. Now, I agree with you. If you win a World Series, who the heck cares?
Right.
You are thinking gamble if you don't win a World Series. This is a lot of money for a player that could be aging into his late 30s that does have fairly sizable injury concern. He does have a few years where he gets hurt and he's out for a lengthy period of time. But
and it's always because he's hitting the ball hard and he like pulls a hand, like he, strains a hamstring or something like that. It always has to do with him like running out a double or something.
But this is a really good, really clutch winning baseball player. And that is unfortunately very different from what Anthony Volpe is right now. And I think you really need to explore this option because it makes them far better as a team.
That's the point. We can't have a fourth season of Anthony Volpe, like a full fourth season of Anthony Volpe barely treading water.
Yeah. What do you do next year if we get to July or August and he's hitting 210? What do you do at that point? And he's not fielding the position well.
Right.
And again, I don't think it's now McMahon's staying because he's got the $10 million plus salary and he fields the ball. And by the way, they traded for him last deadline. So I think McMahon is staying no matter what. And he's going to field an elite level position. So I don't think, he can't go out there and hit 130, but if he hits a respectable 220, 230 and fields the way he does, they'll live with that. And I don't think there's a problem with living with that. The problem is you can't afford for the left side of your infield to hit 210. And if Volpe's going to field the way he does and not hit, I don't see the point in keeping him around. And I know he's a young player, and I know you don't want to necessarily give up on him that quickly. I'm not saying to necessarily give up on the player as a whole.
Is it that quickly, though? Because this will be the fourth season and the third not so great season if 2026 is like 2025 and 2024.
You're right. And, I think the Yankees maybe find it a little early to give up on the player, but at a certain point, Stacey, you can't keep putting up with this.
No.
He's not producing, and he's not becoming the player that they thought he was going to become, and that's fine. But you have to try and upgrade, where you can and honestly, take advantage of a team that wants to cut salary. Corey Seager right now is a $32 million a year player right now. So take advantage of that. Use the financial flexibility that you have as the New York Yankees and make a move to upgrade. I think it's a no-brainer from their perspective, to be honest.
Right. All right, coming up next, a Japanese player who was just posted actually came out and said that he would like to beat the Dodgers and not join the Dodgers. We're going to talk about that next.
I love when news breaks and when athletes have guts to say controversial things that most athletes just won't say. The story that came out today from Tatsuya Imai, I think that's the way it's pronounced, but I could be wrong. He's one of the top Japanese players that's available in the market this year. The Yankees supposedly are looking into him. He basically came out and said that he doesn't want to be a part of the Los Angeles Dodgers, which is very different from what any Japanese players had to say over the last few years has been available. Stacey, let us know what happened here.
So he was on Japanese TV being interviewed by former Red Sox pitcher Daisuke Matsuzaka, which I thought was
pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah. Daisuke, or as we like to call him years ago, Dice BB, because sometimes he'd block a lot of people. So long ago. My gosh. This is what he said about the Dodgers, and I love this. I want to take them down. Playing together with players like Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Roki Sasaki, of course, sounds fun, but I think beating a team like that and becoming world champions would be the most valuable thing in my life.
This is a guy that's clearly letting you know that he is unbelievably dedicated to winning. He wants to go out there and win a championship, and it matters that much to him. To come out there and publicly say that you don't want to play for a team that is one of the top bidders and the top payers in all of the sport, that takes guts, Stacey, because you're eliminating them from the conversation, and they will pay a lot of money to have players there. So I find that very fascinating because you're not only eliminating them now, you're eliminating them for probably your whole career, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Have there been players
Ohtani's there for another 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Yamamoto's there for another 11. I forgot I don't think Sasaki signed a massive length deal, but still you're talking the next half decade where that whole team is going to have 3 of the biggest Japanese superstars on the planet playing for them. And this guy came out publicly and said, not for me. I'm good. That's a bold decision. And honestly too, with the amount of Japanese players playing there, you would think that a lot of these guys coming over would kind of be drawn to the Dodgers because it makes your transition into America a lot easier to be playing, with guys that speak familiar language to you and can kind of take you out and show you the ropes and that kind of stuff. You don't have to figure things out on your own. Now, again, if he goes to New York, he'll survive. There's enough of the Japanese presence in Manhattan where he'll figure things out. But still, it's a lot easier when you have teammates that speak the same language as you and to transition yourself into, American culture and American lifestyle and living in Los Angeles. So to go out there and stay and basically eliminate yourself from going to the Dodgers, pretty gutsy comment right there.
Yeah, I found it very refreshing because you don't usually hear someone say, let's try to beat the Dodgers and not actually join them, because I guess he doesn't want to be one of 4. He wants to be one of 1.
Yeah.
As a Japanese player on an American team, which that's commendable.
Which I think Yu Darvish was that way for a while too. When he first signed over going to Texas, I think that was his plan right there. And he looked good in pinstripes. He wore pinstripes in Japan.
Yes.
So I think there's a spot for him. Especially, I do think a lot of these guys too find it. They love playing for a team like the Yankees if they respect Japanese history when it comes to baseball. Matsui still has a big pull. Remember, Ichiro played a few seasons in New York. Masahiro Tanaka is unbelievably respected in Japan. So there's a lot
Kuroda, even for a few seasons. Yep. There's
a lot of former Yankees that are Japanese players that are, very popular players over there. And I think wearing the Yankee hat as a Japanese player means a lot to these guys. And it's big shoes to follow, just to step into. Remember, the Yankees' last World Championship, Hideki Matsui won the MVP. Now, A-Rod was a big part of that championship season, but don't get anything wrong. Matsui was the second best player throughout that run, and certainly in Game 6, I mean, pretty much won them that World Series in Game 6. So Matsui is a pretty beloved player and won that World Series MVP. I think it means something to these guys to play for the Yankees. Some of these guys, and I think it means something to this guy.
Yeah, and not only that, Matsui will be part of the recruiting process.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was with Yamamoto, not that helped, but
I think Tanaka too.
Yeah,
I think Tanaka will be a part of it. But I think with Yamamoto, they flew in Matsui and Tanaka, right? Wasn't that a thing? They flew them into the Bronx to speak with them and stuff like that. So I think it'll be a part of the process. And hey, I don't think there's any 2 better guys to try and speak on the Yankee brand with how much the Yankee fan base loved those 2 players, especially Tanaka. It's crazy to think about just quickly how much Masahiro Tanaka is beloved by the Yankee fan base, and he never won.
I know.
He never won a World Series, and he is so beloved because of the sheer guts that he had. He pitched in so many big spots and was such a gamer.
And pitching with an elbow that could have torn it any second.
And just went out there and didn't care. Never opted for the surgery and just went out there and pitched his butt off. I would trust him now in a postseason game. He was such a great pitcher. I loved watching him pitch, and I think he speaks very highly of the New York Yankees and their fans.
Oh, yeah. He's still close with Cole. He was at the World Series last year, sitting in a suite. So, yeah, he loved his time with the Yankees, and he wasn't,
by the way, he wasn't too cheap to buy a suite, too.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right, well, thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.